recently mentioned in a function about my awareness of the influence of the drug mafia on certain people in certain institutions. If I may, Mr. Speaker, sir, let me quote what I did in fact say, and I quote. Je connais le combat qui vous permet mener au gouvernement, pas moi tout seul, mais je voulais dire, moi, mon gouvernement, nous permet mener contre le trafiquant de la drogue, contre la mafia de la drogue. Et moi bien dire inquiet quand on trouve qui manière cette mafia-là, zotenant l'influence de certaines du monde, dans certaines autorités, dans certaines institutions, end of quote. I have thus only expressed my concern about the influence which the drug mafia is capable of exercising on certain persons in certain institutions. Mr. Speaker, sir, the House will appreciate, as I'm sure any former Prime Minister will objectively appreciate, that while certain specific information which I received in my capacity as Prime Minister can overtly be disclosed to the public, there is very highly sensitive information which it would neither be in the order nor appropriate to disclose, while covert measures have been taken to establish facts and the truth. It follows that whenever I receive credible and reliably significant information, I do share it with and entrust it to the relevant authorities for appropriate action. Mr. Speaker, sir, I must say that the mafia influence on our institutions is not a new phenomenon and is not limited to Mauritius only. In many countries, powerful drug cartels are known to have influenced or infiltrated the state machinery, thus undermining their ability to effectively defend the national interest. In Mauritius, as far back as 1987, the Royal Commission on Drug Trafficking was very critical of the then flying squad, which was blamed in a report as being a corrupt unit with some senior officers who were at the beck and call of notorious drug traffickers. The 2015 Paris report on horse racing had made damning observations regarding illegal and corrupt activities in the horse racing industry, which were associated with an organized mafia that was being tolerated by certain institutions. And more recently, the Lam Shangling report on drug trafficking also made similar observations about the local drug mafia, who, according to the report, and I quote, are always miles ahead of the authorities in view of their innovative approach and financial support and capability to infiltrate various institutions, and who seem to know in advance what is in store for them before the enforcement agencies closed in on them, unquote. The Commission also mentioned that, and I quote, it is inconceivable that there have been several allegations and reported cases of corruption within the ranks of the ADSU and of certain officers working hand in hand with the drug lords, unquote. In the same vein, the Commission added, and I quote, the prison administration and the police were fully conscious that many prison officers had been caught in the web of the drug barons to do their dirty job in return of advantages, unquote. Mr. Speaker, sir, the drug traffickers' networking is not limited to institutions only, but also extends well beyond, as highlighted in the Lam Shangling report, and I quote, "In the meantime, the drug traffickers have developed a very solid, highly sophisticated network comprising of prison, police officers, customs officers, pharmacists, complacent doctors, bookmakers, casino owners, jockeys, money changers, financiers, and lawyers. In remaining silent and not denouncing the real culprits in their neighborhood, they become accomplices when they should have been the foremost line of the battalion to ward off the drug traffickers." Unquote. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is therefore clear that the evil influence of drug barons on our institutions was known well before 2014, and the then Prime Minister, being the best informed person, should have been aware of it. Yet, absolutely nothing was done to fight the drug scourge, which was met with a disconcerting complacency, with the result that the situation went from bad to worse. This abject and shameful failure on the part of the then government to fulfill its duty to protect our citizens was also highlighted in the Lam Shangling report. Mr. Speaker, sir, to refresh the mind of some members of the other side of the House, let me again quote what Lam Shangling report had to say. And I quote, "The Commission is fully conscious of the pragmatic, multidisciplinary, and multidimensional approach of the 2004-2009 Master Plan report, which had unfortunately never been implemented for reasons best known to those policymakers concerned. The Commission noted that some of the recommendations had sadly remained very relevant and pertinent today, despite the passage of time and despite certain efforts made at a certain time to implement certain of those recommendations. Unfortunately, no concrete and serious action had been taken to tackle the innovative methods used by drug traffickers in this technological age to buttress their illegal activity." Unquote. Mr. Speaker, sir, in December 2014, we inherited the rot, and soon after, we embarked on a crusade against the drug traffickers. And as the first bold step, we set up the Commission of Inquiry on Drug Trafficking, which had that far been systematically refused by the Labour Party-led government. Since then, the government had been battling relentlessly to root out the drug scourge from our society. In this battle, there have been some corrupt officials who have been interdicted from the service on grounds of suspected involvement in drug cases. The organizations have been restructured for more efficiency and effectiveness. The police has been at the forefront of this crusade, and often at the risk of the lives of police officers. And one will understand the disappointment and frustration of the Commissioner of Police when the expected collaboration and cooperation of certain institutions are not forthcoming. Mr. Speaker, sir, as a follow-up to the Commission of Inquiry on Drug Trafficking report published in July 2018, a ministerial committee was set up under my chair, and another committee was set up under the chair of the Secretary to Cabinet and head of the Civil Service to look into the legal, institutional, and administrative issues, and to expedite the implementation of the recommendations contained in the report of the Commission of Inquiry. The National Drug Secretariat of my office, which has inter alia the responsibility to coordinate the implementation of the National Drug Control Master Plan 2019-2023, took over this responsibility as from March 2020. The report of the Commission of Inquiry was scrutinized by the National Drug Secretariat, and a list of 390 recommendations comprising 328 for Mauritius and 62 for Rodrigues was drawn up and categorized under the responsibility of relevant ministries and departments for implementation. Regular monitoring of the recommendations is conducted, and the status of the 390 recommendations as at January 2023 is as follows. 295 have already been implemented or have adequate measures in place. Actions have been initiated on 51 recommendations. 6 may require legislative amendments and are under consideration at the level of different ministries and departments, and 35 are considered not feasible by the different ministries and departments concerned, and 3 recommendations relate to the judiciary. The remaining 15% of the 390 recommendations which have not yet been completed are expected to be implemented by December 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, on 31st August 2018, the Ministerial Committee set up a task force with the following terms of reference: to conduct further inquiries that the Commission has earnestly called for in a number of identified cases, to refer those cases where names have been mentioned to the relevant authorities, to look into cases where the Commission has drawn attention to but has not been able to gather sufficient evidence to investigate into, and any other matter not mentioned in the report, but which might be related to what I have just mentioned. The task force is constituted of the Director General of the Independent Commission Against Corruption as chair, the Commissioner of Police, the Director General of the Mauritius Revenue Authority, the Director of the Financial Intelligence Unit, the Director of the Integrity Reporting Services Agency, and the Deputy Solicitor General. At its first meeting on 11th of September 2018, the task force decided to co-opt the Commissioner of Prisons as one of its members. The task force has, since 11 September 2018, met on numerous occasions to develop the necessary strategy and plan of action in order to fulfill its mandate. I wish to inform the House that a draft legislation for the setting up of the Financial Crime Commission is being finalized for a proper institutional framework to combat financial crime. This will also be in line with government's philosophy to avoid setting up multiple agencies dealing with related or similar issues. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am further informed that as at date, out of the 64 initial cases entrusted to the police, inquiries are proceeding in respect of 15 cases. No further action has been taken in 15 cases upon advice of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. 2 cases have been sent to the Office of the DPP for advice. 22 have been referred to the Anti-Drug and Smuggling Unit for monitoring, and inquiry has been completed in 10 cases. With regard to the 122 cases referred to the Mauritius Revenue Authority, I am informed that the outcome of these cases is as follows. 75 cases were investigated, out of which 43 investigations were completed with tax yields and 32 cases were completed without tax yield. 38 cases were discontinued for the following reasons. 2 persons have already passed away. 34 cases have been disposed of after preliminary inquiries which did not give conclusive evidence of tax evasion, and 2 cases were finalized before the setting up of the task force. The 9 remaining cases are subject to further investigation at the level of ICAC or the Mauritius Revenue Authority. Referrals from Anti-Drug and Smuggling Unit and the Mauritius Revenue Authority allowed the Integrity Reporting Services Agency to obtain an unexplained wealth order to confiscate cash in the sum of 16.5 million rupees suspected to be proceeds of drug trafficking. An application for an unexplained wealth order in the sum of 52 million rupees is currently before the court following another ADSU referral, and a further referred case in the sum of 16 million rupees is under investigation. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed that the Independent Commission Against Corruption initiated investigation in 53 cases. Out of 48 cases completed, 40 were set aside by the ICAC at preliminary investigation stage. However, 5 have been referred to the police and 2 to the Mauritius Revenue Authority. Out of the remaining 8 completed cases, 3 were advised no further action by the DPP and 1 was advised prosecution. 4 cases are awaiting advice at the level of the DPP. The Financial Intelligence Unit made major progress by completing its investigative analysis on all the 71 subjects referred to in the report of the Commission of Inquiry on Drug Trafficking. Mr. Speaker, sir, in line with the recommendations of the report of the Commission of Inquiry on Drug Trafficking in Mauritius, the Declaration of Assets Mauritius Prison Service regulations were promulgated with effect from 4th April 2022 for every officer of the departmental grade in the Prisons Department to make a declaration of his assets and liabilities, as well as those of his family and close relatives. With regard to seizures of drugs, I am informed by the Commissioner of Police that between January 2015 and 28 February 2023, a total amount of 14.8 billion rupees worth of drugs have been seized, as compared to drugs of a street value of 2.7 billion rupees seized during the years 2000 to 2014. Mr. Speaker, sir, the record seizures and arrests made since 2015 overwhelmingly testify to our determination to root out the drug scourge which has been wreaking havoc in our society, particularly among our youth. I know for sure
answer. You can table it in the assembly, because we have so many questions to ask, but we don't have enough time.
In your question, Honorable Nagalingam, you made mention to the Prime Minister to state the actions he proposes to take and thereof whatever. So, what can I do? What can the chair do? If he has 50 actions he has taken. I'm talking to one honorable member. It would be impolite and lack of decorum for other members to intervene. Please.
So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I was saying that the record seizures and arrests made since 2015 overwhelmingly testify to our determination to root out the drug scourge, which has been wreaking havoc in our society, particularly among our youth. I know for sure that the population appreciates the concrete results we have achieved and shown so far, and that from all walks of life, our citizens or supportive of the action of the government. Mr. Speaker, sir, concerning the mafia in the horse racing industry, highlighted in the Paris report, and also by a former president of the Mauritius Turf Club, after 9 years of Labour reign, we have taken the bull by its horn since 2015 to firstly bring reforms as recommended by the Commission, and secondly pave the way for the industry to develop and move ahead sustainably. We have amended the law to bring all operators under the purview of the company's legislation to ensure transparency and accountability. We have set up a horse racing division at the Gambling Regulatory Authority to take over the regulatory and governance functions of horse racing. Professionals have been recruited to look precisely at the integrity aspect of horse racing. Many of those who were known to indulge in corrupt practices are now facing the reality of a drastically changed landscape. They now know that their dirty business will no longer be allowed to occur at the expense of racegoers. And I'm pleased that we are cleaning the urgent stables and putting order where required with resolve and determination, contrary to those days during the 2005-2014 period when the horse racing mafia that was connected to the drug mafia was being allowed to extend its illegal activities before the eyes of everybody. Mr. Speaker, sir, with determination, we have managed to win many battles against the mafias that grew and prospered during the years 2005 to 2014. However, they have built networks, and parts of those are still functional. That is what I referred to in my public statement. Let me restate most emphatically that we are consistent and steadfast in our resolve to dismantle the drug networks and any other mafia networks in our country. And we are unflinchingly maintaining our stand of ridding our country of drug hydras.
Mr. Speaker, sir, having listened to the reply of the Honourable Prime Minister, give rise to even more questions than provide answers. Considering that there are a dozen of institutions which are headed by women and men of professional integrity, and that the statement of the Honourable Prime Minister is casting suspicion on all institutions, will the Honourable Prime Minister provide clarification on which institution he was referring, and the state whether any mafiosi have been identified and what action, if any, have been taken?
I think the honourable member hasn't listened. He hasn't listened to my long reply. In fact, indeed, it was a long reply. But let me say again that maybe he's not aware there have been a number of cases, Mr. Speaker, sir, where people working in some institutions have been, in fact, found, not only some of them have been arrested, brought before the court, cases ongoing, some of them have been arrested, cases have been dealt by the court, convicted also, just to give an idea. In several departments and ministry, Mauritius Prison Service, there have been a number of officers who have been interdicted, dismissed, subject to disciplinary actions for drug dealing since 2015 to date. In the Mauritius Prison Service, 21. The State Trading Corporation, 1. Agro-Industry, 2. National Land Transport Authority, 1. Education, 8. Labor, I can go on like this. And this is only part of it. Now, these are the people whom I am saying, unfortunately, they are accomplices or They are themselves in drug trafficking, in drug dealing. And this is what I'm referring to. Those people who, in fact, instead of abiding by their responsibility and as good citizens also, abiding by the law of the country, in fact, they do the opposite. They not only go against the law, but as we know, this matter, this question of drug trafficking is of paramount importance for the government, and that is why j'ai continué à dénoncer les brebis galeuses dans toutes les institutions qui sont concernées.
Merci. Honorable Premier ministre, regarde-moi la photo. Monsieur R.S., suspecté d'avoir blanchi plusieurs dizaines de millions de roupies. Monsieur S.B., suspecté dans une affaire de trafic de drogue, en compagnie du Premier ministre Pravin Jagnat, par l'avocat Pravin Jagnat. Monsieur le Premier ministre, ma question est simple. Est-ce que les tentacules, l'infiltration de la mafia ont atteint jusqu'aux dirigeants de notre pays?
Les tentacules ont atteint les dirigeants du Mauritius Labour Party. Ça, oui. Ça. Regardez dans votre rang. Dans votre rang, vous avez des membres de votre parti qui, at least un membre que je connais, qui a été arrêté par la police pour possession et trafic de drogue. Et puis nous savons pas.
Don't promise this again. Order. Please.
Et tout le monde sait, Monsieur le Président, qui se sont en train de défendre les trafiquants. Hein? Alors, il vient de nous donner la leçon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Well, we on this side, we unanimously commend the Prime Minister for his battle against the drug. My question to the Honourable Prime Minister this afternoon is, he has lengthily mentioned about the report of Lam Shangling. So my question is, prior to 2015, was there any institution of any commission of inquiry on drug mafia? Was there any commission by any other government like Parti Travail's government? Did they bring forward any commission to combat the drug mafia? Thank you.
Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is so obvious. Why is it that from 2005 to 2014, there has been systematic request, even at that time, members of the MMM party in the opposition, they were always asking and requesting the Prime Minister to set up a commission of inquiry on drug trafficking. Mais le Premier ministre d'alors et le Parti travailliste a fait la sourde oreille. Pourquoi? Pourquoi? Why not set up a commission of inquiry? The only conclusion which I can come to is pour tolérer, pour soutirer et pour protéger ces mafias.
Monsieur le Président, le Parti travailliste n'est pas au pouvoir depuis 8 ans. Le Premier ministre qui a reconnu publiquement l'infiltration et l'influence de la mafia dans nos institutions, qui sont sous la charge d'un gouvernement MSM, est Premier ministre depuis 7 ans. Au-delà de votre réponse et de votre aveu, Monsieur le Premier ministre, une chose demeure. Je voudrais savoir, Monsieur le Premier ministre, je voudrais savoir, Monsieur le Premier ministre, ce que la population retient de cette photo où vous, personnellement, Monsieur le Premier ministre, en compagnie de quelqu'un qui a été arrêté pour des milliards de roupies dans des bonbonnes de gaz. Qu'est-ce que vous avez à dire en ce qui concerne les infiltrations de la mafia? Ma question est précise. Est-ce que ce monsieur qui est à votre côté fait partie lui aussi de la mafia qui a infiltré nos institutions, dont le Prime Minister's Office? Ma question est directe.
Vous savez, l'honorable membre, je peux montrer, et la prochaine fois, je vais emmener d'autres photos. Je ne savais pas que vous allez montrer des photos. Je vais montrer la présence de votre leader avec certaines personnes de la mafia. D'ailleurs, ben, écoutez, vous montrez les photos. Regardez la photo ici. Hein? C'est qui ça? C'est Jasmine Toulouse, candidate du MMM au numéro 14. Avec qui? Avec qui? Peut-être vous allez reconnaître. Alors, ne venez pas montrer des photos comme si vous faites des accusations gratuites, gratuiteuses. Et allez répéter ça de haut, si vous avez le courage. Si vous avez le courage, allez répéter de haut.
Honorable Nakchedi.
Mr. Speaker, sir, can the Honorable Prime Minister inform the House if he is aware of public statements made by Council ST following a bail motion he lodged in court for his client AB, who is a suspected drug trafficker?
Yes, parce qu'on est en train de dire il y a des institutions et que je suis en train d'attaquer les institutions, mais l'avocat ST, Sanjay Tilakdari, parce qu'il n'y a pas lieu de ne pas mentionner, c'est connu, c'est d'ailleurs, il a fait une intervention publique pour dire, alors, qu'est-ce qu'il, let me quote, concernant un jugement, un très mauvais jugement, un magistrat qui ne pas comprendre non dans bail, un magistrat qui ne pas comprendre non dans présomption d'innocence et right to be released on bail. Et ce genre de commentaires, j'entends rien. Personne ne fait de commentaires, personne ne dit qu'on est en train d'attaquer le judiciaire, on est attaqué la magistrate. Non, rien du tout. Ils sont tous tranquilles. Hein?
Order.
Et il n'y a pas que lui, Monsieur le Président. Il y a d'autres aussi qui ont fait des
Time
commentaires.
over. The table is advised that PQ, that question B6, B21, B68, B9, B2, B3, B10 have been withdrawn. Question to ministers.
B22.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the portion of land which had been leased to Mr. SKC falls under the jurisdiction of the Saman District Council. I'm informed by the latter that as per the records, no building and land use permit has been issued to Mr. SKC regarding the construction on the said plot of state land. I'm informed by the Minister of Agro-Industry and Food Security that the land was leased to Mr. SKC for a period starting from the 30th of July 2021 and terminating on the 29th of July 2028. However, the lease was cancelled through a letter on the 7th of March 2023. The District Council of Savan has informed that it has sought legal advice on action which may be initiated in respect of the existing construction on site.
Can the Honourable Minister inform the House if any representative from the local authority concerned, that is Savan District Council, or from his ministry has effected any site visit on the said portion of land which is found outside settlement boundary to take stock of the constructions effected there?
I mean, this plot of land, Mr. Speaker, sir, is found very much in the forest. It's not well seen from the main road. Actually, no visit was made by the local authorities before because they were not aware that any construction was being made there at that time. But afterwards, then they visited the place.
Can the Honourable Vice Prime Minister inform the House whether the local authority concerned, that is the Savan District Council, is contemplating any legal action against the lessee for violation of building laws on the land?
That's what I've said, Mr. Speaker, sir. They have sought legal advice how to proceed with that particular case.
Can the Honourable Vice Prime Minister inform the House if his ministry, with the collaboration of the Ministry of Land and the Ministry of Agro, is planning to set up a reforestation program on the said portion of land?
I mean, the land belonged to, I've just mentioned, it belonged to Mr. Agro Industry. So, I mean, they are going to decide what they're going to do with this plot of land.
Next question.
B23.
Mr. Speaker, sir,
Worldwide, cancer is the second leading cause of death. About 1 in 6 deaths is due to cancer globally. According to the WHO, in 2020, around 10 million people were diagnosed with cancer, and it is expected that these figures will nearly double by the year 2040. Mauritius, over the past decades, has experienced a gradual rise in the incidence of cancer and follows the global trend. It has been observed that females are more affected than males with regard to cancer. In females, breast cancer is the most common cancer, followed by colorectal cancer, whereas the most common cancer in males is prostate, followed by colorectal. Mr. Speaker, sir, cancer surveillance is a key component of cancer control. The appropriate tool for surveillance is a register. A population-based national cancer registry has been maintained on a continuous basis since 1990. The registry provides an accurate picture of the occurrence of cancer in the Republic of Mauritius. Again, according to WHO, a cancer registry is a key component used to develop the strategy in the fight against cancer. Statistics obtained play a crucial role to gauge the consequences of cancer on general health, analyze the recent tendencies, and foresee the evolution. The registry also helps to formulate policy on cancer and follow up on the results. Mr. Speaker, sir, last year, my ministry has developed a national cancer control program for the period 2022-2025, which has been approved by government. This action plan focuses on the 5 most common cancers for male and female in the Mauritian population, namely breast, colorectal, prostate, cervix, and lung cancer. Some of the main recommendations are strengthening of cancer awareness campaigns through mass media communication, introduction of national cancer screening program, introduction of new nuclear medicine services such as PET scan and SPECT scan at the new cancer center, extension of palliative care services from hospital to community and domiciliary-based, integration of cancer care with cancer patients, and twinning of the National Cancer Center with a reputed international cancer center. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to detailed statistics pertaining to the 2022, I'm informed by the Central Health Laboratory for the year 2022, approximately 559 cases of breast cancers and 91 cases of cervical cancers have been diagnosed for public hospitals only. Data are still being compiled for private clinics, and I wish to inform the House that once the National Cancer Registry Report 2022 will be finalized, same will be published on the Ministry's website.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Can the Honourable Minister tell us about the strategy of his ministry for collateral cancer screening?
Mr. Speaker, sir, breast and cervical for the colorectal cancer screening. Yes, the strategy is that given the increasing trend in colorectal cancers in Mauritius and across the world, as well as the colorectal cancers burden, the Ministry of Health has organized an international conference on colorectal cancer screening last year from 12 to 13 September. Dr. Suleiman Moria, GOSK, teaching lead gastroenterologist, hepatologist at Bradford Teaching Hospitals, UK, a Mauritian national established in the UK, assembled eminent and renowned experts in the field of colorectal cancer to share their experience with the participants about treatment, carrying out necessary tests, screening of colorectal cancers in Mauritius, thereby preventing early deaths. The colorectal cancer screening program center will be housed at the Dr. AGG2 Hospital under the umbrella of the Center for Gastroenterology and Hepatology. Dr. Suleiman Mouria was on official visit last week from 20th to 24th March to chart out the process for implementation of the colorectal cancer screening program, which I believe we will start it early next year.
We know from the Minister, when will the PET scan and the radiology machine for the therapy of cancer patients be fully operational at the cancer hospital?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the new cancer center, the building is already vested to the Minister of Health. Now the procurement for these equipments is the equipment being done by the HSCC, and they are in process. By third quarter of this year, we will be having the equipment, and then we'll also need to conduct the training. So by end of this year, these equipments will be already installed and be in service.
Can the Honourable Minister provide details to the House pertaining to breast and cervical cancer screening in Mauritius? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir, breast and cervical screening program, they are being carried out whole year. And those who the test being carried out, they are for these married or sexually active women aged between 25 to 65 years old. The test being done at the community level, at the work sites, and this being done according to guidelines laid down by the expert for detection and treatment. So screening activities have been re-engineered because previously we were using different tools to do the screening. Now it's been done using liquid-based cytology instead of the conventional cytology. And for the year 2022, the number of screening conducted in regard to cervical screening being by the Health Promotion Unit 8,800, in the Mediclinics area health centers 3,183. So in total, the screening done last year for breast and cervical cancer being 11,983. So these are the tests being done.
Can the Honourable Minister give us some information about clinical research to be carried out on cancer in Mauritius?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. So the Ministry of Health is collaborating with the International Cancer Research, ICR group, to carry out research and development program in connection with the prevalence of cancer in Mauritius. And the ICR group, domiciled in United Arab Emirates, is the research and development arm of the King Saud University, mandated to run the quantum optics program. So this is the research collaborators, and hopefully in the coming weeks we're going to sign the MOU, and with the MOU we can start establishing the different criteria how to conduct research in Mauritius and Rodrigues as well concerning cancer.
The table has been advised that the following PQs have been withdrawn: B65, B96, B54, B59, B57, B58, B101, B76, B103, B78, B56. Next question.
B24. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to children entrusted to shelters, I am informed that presently no child is admitted at the Brown Sequoia Hospital. However, I am also apprised, Mr. Speaker, sir, that there are currently 5 minors falling under the care of my ministry who are admitted at the hospital mentioned. These minors suffer from severe psychiatric issues that require ongoing specialized care, which is only available at the said hospital?
Il semblerait que des enfants d'un certain shelter sont envoyés au BSH pour avoir manifesté un fort caractère ou leur mécontentement devant le repas qui leur est servi. Nous savons tous que qui dit BSH dit également problème psychiatrique. La ministre en a-t-elle été informée de ce cas? Et est-elle également au courant que les enfants admis dans les shelters ou au BSH sont tout de suite déscolarisés?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am not aware of the particular case raised by the honourable member of the opposition, but I can reassure the House that the 5 minors currently admitted, the 5 minors I mentioned who fall under the aegis, under the care of the Child Development Unit of my ministry, who are currently admitted in Brown-Sequard Hospital, do suffer from very serious psychiatric problem that requires specialized treatment, like I mentioned. As to the second part of the question, was it about somebody being admitted because they complain about their meals?
Des enfants.
Mr. Speaker, sir, honourable member mentioned something very pertinent, the decision whether there can be a continuity in la scolarité de ces enfants rests upon the decision of the medical staff and the personnel providing treatment to these minors. And unfortunately, often is the case, they're not automatically déscolarisés, but often is the case that they cannot carry on with their education.
La ministre est-elle au courant que en 2013, un comité ministériel comprenant le ministère du Genre, le ministère de la Santé et celui de la Sécurité sociale avait été mis sur pied pour dégager un plan à l'intention des enfants nécessitant des soins psychiatriques? Est-ce que la ministre est en mesure de nous dire si le comité fonctionne toujours? Si oui, est-ce qu'il y a des recommandations qui ont été faites sur le sort des enfants admis sur long terme au BSH?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am not fully aware of the report or the committee being mentioned by the honourable member, the one that was set up in 2013. But I can reassure the honourable member and the House as well that since the enactment of the Children's Act of 2020, there has been the Child Services Coordinating Panel, which is set up and comprises of various stakeholders. The provisions to set up an infrastructure to provide specialized care for children requiring such care is being discussed with the relevant stakeholders. At the moment, I would like to point out that this hospital, the Brown-Sequard Hospital, is the only institution that can provide this kind of specialized care. We are looking at, government is committed to coming up with specialized institutions that can provide housing facilities and accommodation and care to these children with these needs.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Les effets secondaires des médicaments sont inévitables et désastreux sur les enfants. La ministre pourrait-elle indiquer à la Chambre qui prend la décision d'interner ces enfants au BHS? Est-ce qu'il y a un panel composé de différents spécialistes médicaux? Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the question put forward by the honourable member is not related to the parliamentary question that I am replying to, but the answer is very simple enough, and we don't say intern, we say admitted to a facility. The answer is very simple. It is a medical team that decides what medication to provide to any patient, be it yourself, myself, or a child, or anybody else who requires medical attention. It is a doctor who prescribes medication.
The table has been advised that PQB 83, B88, B82, B99 have been withdrawn. Also, PQ B54 will be replied by the Honorable Vice Prime Minister, Minister of Local Government and Disaster Risk Management. PQ B59 will be replied by the Honorable Minister of Land Transport and Light Rail, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade. Next question.
B25.
Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to inform the House that the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child, the UNCRC, examined the combined 6th and 7th periodic reports of Mauritius and commended the government of Mauritius on its presentation. The concluding observations, which were adopted on the 3rd of February this year, are available on the website of the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights since 23rd of February 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, my ministry has already initiated a series of measures for implementing the recommendations contained in the report, and the Child Services Coordinating Panel, as established under the Children's Act, is holding consultations with relevant stakeholders to devise the implementation plan, which I am sure you will appreciate consists of immediate, short, medium, and long-term actions. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Child Services Coordinating Panel has been mandated for this particular task, and I wish to reassure the House and the Honourable Member putting the question that by the time we go to our next reporting cycle, which will be in 2030, significant progress will have been achieved.
La ministre a mentionné les immediate actions. Parmi les principaux sujets de préoccupation du Comité des droits des enfants des Nations Unies et pour lesquels, justement, il demande des actions urgentes, figurent les grossesses précoces, dues au manque d'éducation sexuelle et d'accès limité à la contraception, entre autres. La ministre peut-elle nous dire si et quand est-ce qu'elle compte implémenter une mesure qui a été recommandée et qui en soit très très simple à implémenter, qui est celle qui voudrait que les adolescents n'aient plus besoin d'être accompagnés par leurs parents pour bénéficier de moyens de contraception auprès de l'institution concernée. Cette mesure-là, je finis juste, cette mesure-là est très simple à implémenter et permettrait de réduire le nombre de grossesses précoces, d'avortements clandestins et de transmission de maladies sexuelles. Merci.
Mr. Speaker, sir, it is indeed a strong recommendation of the committee, and I can reassure the honourable member and the House that it is something that we are looking at implementing urgently.
Parmi d'autres recommandations urgentes, le comité a fait ressortir que cela fait 8 ans que ce gouvernement parle du même adoption bill. Est-ce que la ministre peut-elle enfin aujourd'hui annoncer quand est-ce que ce projet de loi sera enfin présenté à la Chambre?
Mr. Speaker, sir, indeed, it has been flagged by the committee that the enactment of the adoption bill is a priority. It is a priority of this government. And I have just reported there are so many recommendations contained in that report that is being monitored by the Child Services Coordinating Panel. Coming to the adoption bill, this is not an emerging need. It has the need for the adoption bill to come into play has been there way before 8 years. I can report to the House that the bill is currently being finalized with the Solicitor General's office, and my ministry, myself, my government will be bringing it to the House.
Les experts ont aussi fait ressortir qu'il n'existe pas de stratégie nationale concernant le bien-être des enfants. Est-ce qu'elle peut nous dire ce qu'il en est?
Mr. Speaker, sir, again, this is one of the recommendations to come up with a 10-year plan for the welfare of the children. Again, this is not another emerging need or a new recommendation of the UNCRC. It is something that has been flagged prior during the tenure of other governments as well. But we will do it, we are working on it, and we will come up with a plan.
The table has been advised that PQB 64, B92, B100 have been withdrawn. Honourable members, I'll suspend the sitting for 1.5 hours.